guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Chiara, and in today's video someone asked if I could show you how I wash and dry dishes with one hand. So I thought I'm going to show you that today. So first off, if you don't know, when I was 2 and 10 months I suffered a stroke resulting in right side hemiplegia, and I will link full video about my disability here and down below if you want to go watch it. And if you like these kind of videos and you want to learn more about my disability and learn more about how I do one-handed tasks, and you might want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. The subscribe button will be below. Someone asked if I could show how I wash and dry dishes. So I do have a dishwasher and we do tend to use a dishwasher, but I'm going to show you anyway because you also said sometimes your dishes come out wet in the dishwashers. But what you could do, I was thinking, and my friend actually told me this, she says she just takes some kitchen roll and wipes them in the dishwasher, so that's quite a good idea. So I just wanted to say that before I show you how I wash and dry dishes. But yeah, now let me show you how I wash and dry dishes with one hand. So I put the bubbles in. I feel like I put way too much bubbles in. So do not take like my washing up advice, because I'm not very good at it. Someone asked, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this ring off because I don't really want my ring on while I do it. Okay, so I think what you're going to want to do is to wash up with one hand. I think obviously you can wear gloves. I'm not going to wear gloves because I can't put them on. But I think what you're going to need to do is let's start with this. So this is the lid to my swimming water bottle. It's gross, but let's start with this. So you can take the straw out, and then you can, let's take, I don't know why I'm taking water out, going water there. I think you can put it in there, put it in there. I think what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the thing, and you can just like, it depends on how dirty it is, so I guess you could just leave it in the water. Like, I'm not very good at washing up. This isn't like too hot for me, but obviously check the water's not too hot for you, because obviously it depends. Everybody's hands will be different. But like, you could just, and I guess you could take the sponge and you could kind of like put the thing, you could leave the thing in the water like this, and then you could just kind of like put it like this in there and do it kind of like that. I don't really know how necessarily you do it. You have to like hold it like that and then go. You'd have to hold the item with one hand and then take the item you want and then kind of pull it in like that, I think. But I don't really know. It's quite a hard thing to do with one hand washing up, I think. If you're lucky enough, you might have a dishwasher. I'm very lucky enough, I do have a dishwasher, but there's some things you can't go in a dishwasher. Like this water bottle can't go in the dishwasher, so I have to wash it up. So I guess you could do that, and then what you could do if you wanted to wash this bit, you could run some water through it like that, and then rinse it like that, without trying to spread the water everywhere. And then, I guess what you could do is you could put it, now I'm going to put it there, to dry, and then with this straw, what I would do is, again, I would kind of just like rinse it with some like water. I would just leave that in there, because it doesn't really need that much washing up. Okay, so to dry it, what I would do is I would take the tea towel, and the thing is you could either take the tea towel like this, and I would take, and if you can, put it on your other arm. What you could do is just leave it to dry on a drying rack. It's completely up to you, but if you wanted to dry it quickly, what I would do is kind of like, if you can, lean it on your arm like this, and then you could just like, obviously dry the item like that, and then with the straw, obviously the straw doesn't really need drying because it's kind of like already dry, but if you did just want to make sure it was dry, that's one way you can dry an item. Let me show you another item to wash up. I'm trying to like show you different things because I know different things are harder to wash up. So now let's do I need to do the bottle. So I can keep this on. I mean, just because it's a nightmare to put back on. So I think obviously you'd put it in the water like that, and then I think what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fill it with water. Again, this isn't a how to wash up. Please don't take my washing up advice because I'm not very good at it. But I think what you could do is you could, if you can hold the bottle, you could fill the bottle up with some water. And if you can hold the bottle, you could put the sponge inside and go like that. And then just, and you could almost wedge the bottle, if you can, if it won't break, you could wedge it against the sink like this. And go like that, and then like kind of twist it around like that. You could do that, and then I guess you could take the hot tap again, and then you could just make sure you thoroughly rinse the water bottle out, because, well, in this case it's a water bottle, because you don't really want like your water tasting bubbly, do you? So that wouldn't be very good. So yeah. So yeah, then you just rinse out like that. And then once you've done that, and you're happy, and it's what I would do, again, I think drying this is going to be hard, so I think what I would probably do is just like leave it to dry. So I'd probably like put it on the side like this, and then leave it to dry like that. But it depends, if you need it, that's not really an option. So what you could do is, what I would do, I would take it like this, and then I would just kind of like, with my hand, wrap the tea towel around the bottom, and then you could either put the tea towel like this, and then you could just like dry it like that. That's what I would do, but obviously that's quite hard. But if you have time, I would honestly just leave it to dry upside down like that on the side, because I think that's so much easier, but it's completely up to you. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is this plate. I have my breakfast on it. So what I would do is obviously put it in the sink and leave it in the sink. And then I think what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to take your plate, and you're gonna want to find it, and you're gonna want to find the sponge, and you're just gonna, I think what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to kind of, I don't know if you guys can see this on either cameras, you're kind of gonna have to hold the plate with the sponge, and then just like move it round, and I think you're just gonna have to be gentle. I think there's no way of washing up, especially china, without it breaking. So I think you're just gonna have to like take your sponge and kind of like hold the plate where you could hold the plate here. So you could hold your plate here and then hold the sponge like this, and then move it like that. Does that make sense? And then you could flip it over like that, and then you could move the plate like that, and then I think you could put it down and do it like that. And I think that's how I would wash up a plate with one hand. And then once that's done, then what I would do is you can either put it on a drying rack, or to dry a plate like this, which is china, I'm just going to get a tea towel. And what I would do is I think you're going to have to put it on the side, the tea towel like this. You can put the plate on top of it like this, and then I think what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take it from the bottom of the tea towel, and then you're just going to want to like wrap the tea towel around the plate, like that, and then you're going to want to turn it over, and you're just going to want to be super gentle, because obviously if you are using china, you don't really want it to break, and I don't want you guys hurting yourself or anything. It's always my concern when I do videos like this. I'm like, please don't hurt yourself. So yeah, so I think that's how I would wash up a plate. I would do it like that, and also this plate doesn't dry, but that's fine. You could also just leave it to dry as well. Like I said, like with the bottle, you could always just leave it to dry on a drying rack as well. Usually it has to do like cutlery. I think that's kind of an important one. Okay, I can't get it right, so it's because I moved it, so sorry, okay. So this is the cutlery I eat lunch with. So again, what I would do is put it in the sink, like this. And then I would take, the thing is, I would take the sponge again, the butter knife, so it's not overly sharp, but obviously it is a knife, so be careful. But I think what I would do is I would just kind of like wrap the sponge or whatever you're using around it, and try and take, or I think actually what you could do is leave it to soak in the sink, because then the food will come off. And then what you can do is with your sponge, I would say be very careful, because obviously it is a knife. You're going to have to wrap the sponge around it, and you're just going to have to go, I think. This is hard with one hand. The thing is, you can't like lean. You could put it in the bottom of the sink and like take the sponge and wipe the sponge on top, but you still have to hold the knife. So I feel like you'd have to hold the sponge and the knife with like your thumb like this, and then you'd have to like do it like that, and then again you'd have to do it on this side, and then I guess you could kind of wrap it round and do it like that. But again, you're gonna have to be super careful, because obviously this is a knife, and I don't want anyone injuring themselves. So that's how I would do it. And then to dry the knife, what I would do is I would take the tea towel, and I think you could either just leave it to dry on the side, like get a draining board, or again you could put it on the side and you could just wrap the tea towel in it and just pat the knife dry. But obviously that depends on how sharp the knife is, because obviously different knives are sharp. And like I said, I really don't want any of you guys hurting yourself, because that's not my goal. On this channel's goal is to make us independent, not injure ourselves. The fork I've kind of left to soak. Okay, so the fork I left because obviously I was showing you the knife. So there's not much left on the fork. So I think what I would do is just take the sponge and the fork, and I would kind of just like go like that and wrap the sponge around the fork, but you're also holding the fork, you're resting your fork on your like fingers if you can, and then I would just like push the fork up like that, and that's kind of how I would do it. And then once it's done and it's clean, because obviously you don't eat with the handle, so hopefully the handle's not got anything on it, you can then just take your tea towel again, and you can either rest it on your arm, because a fork, I wouldn't do it with a knife, but with a fork I think it would be fine, but it depends on how sharp your forks are. And then you could just kind of like put the fork, or you could rest the tea towel on your arm, and then you could just kind of dry the fork like that, or again you could just kind of wrap the tea towel around the fork to dry it. That's what I would say. So to do this espresso mug, what I would do is also put it in water. Is I would take the sponge, and again it fills up with water because naturally will do. If you can get it to sink, you can if you fill up water. I would put, you could either hold the mug like this and the sponge, and just kind of like put it in the, you could kind of put the sponge in it and go round like that, but then you have to be able to move the mug and your fingers, and that's not the most easy. And I do feel like I'm going to drop this, obviously water makes it wet, which makes it slippy, so I do feel like I'm going to drop this. So if it's your favourite mug, I wouldn't do that, because I don't want anyone breaking their favourite mug, or again, sorry I didn't realise, I thought I wasn't focused, or injuring themselves, since we've been over this. So you could do it like that, or what you could do is just put it in the bottom of the sink, and then just kind of like put the sponge in it, and like go like that, and rinse it round, and then dry it like that. And then obviously you can either leave it to dry, air dry it, or dry it with a tea towel. Again, you could put it on your arm, but again, if it's your favourite mug, don't do that, because if you drop it, that'll be upsetting. And then you could just wrap the mug, or wrap the tea towel around the mug like this, and then it will be dry. Or again, you can put it on the side like this, like I've shown you previously, and just wrap it round to dry, and then it's dry. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you did enjoy, please like and comment. And if you want to learn more about my disability and learn more about how I do one-handed tasks, and you might want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. The subscribe button will be below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!